UST professors and friends, what's your take from this afternoon speakers and anything you want to comment on or ask for them to expound on?
Okay, ladies first. Okay, so I was earlier here and we had a very interesting conversation this morning as well. And I think the sustainability is something embedded in here in USC of Architecture. Our dean is here and our college secretary. We actually have a course, Urban Regional Planning, wherein we talk a lot about sustainability. I'm one of the professor. We also have urban design, so we talk about branding. So sustainability, I guess, is also a good brand to cater to what is lifestyle now, a sustainable lifestyle, as well as in design. So let me also pitch in on that because I believe as an urban planner, it's very important that we start with the site because there's a lot of issues regarding conversion, of course, of food sustainability and food security, and also resiliency, as you said, when it comes to flooding and making sure it's safe. But at the same time, we would like to put our real estate where there's market and there's profit. So let me also loop in the Pasig River. As some of my colleagues know that I'm a consultant of MMDA on flood mitigation. And I like that you really are very much proactive, particularly in enhancing our river redevelopment because it adds on to the whole environmental sustainability, especially of how we cater to our open spaces. So yeah, so I guess I'm very happy with that. So one of the questions that I would like to pitch in is on circular economy, because we are very much, talking about energy consumption, net zero. But
graduate na kasi sa recycling and all that.
Yes.
Circular na ngayon. Circular na.
Yeah, because I'm on the road to zero waste with MMDA, and we are really wanting to know what are the plans, particularly on solid waste management.
Who would like to take the first answer? Who would like to answer first? On solid waste management, it's a question.
Circular economy. Okay, Jika?
First, that's a very big question. It's super important for us to address it. And at SM, we really believe that the circular economy is very important to us because since we are integrated into so many different types of businesses, from production all the way to lifestyle, residential, and malls, we find that having those avenues to collect and make sure that people have that we have the waste management accessible to people really is the first step and actually the most important step. So when we look at the circular economy, the first thing that we want to address is we have to make it easy for people to access this. So whether that's within our residences or our commercial developments, we want to make sure that it's for them to be able to recycle or to have composting areas or to dispose of waste properly. It's very easy for them. We actually have flyers around the place and posters so that people can see where the waste should be going. And then from there, we then partner with different organizations and bodies to either dispose of the waste or figure out how we can reuse it properly.
Hans, were you wanting? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I happen to live in an Ayala property, and some of it is not really scientific, but very practical, which is sorting your waste. It's really encouraged. There are signs on, where we throw our trash that, okay, from certain time to certain times, you cannot put anything there. It needs to be only food waste. Then only from certain times to another time, that's only when you can put in the recyclables. Then in between those periods, they actually lock the door. At least in my building in Makati. So kudos to Ayala Property Management for doing that. But I think it's those little behavioral nudges that change the equation really and changes behavior. It's not just message, but those little nudges in rules and regulations that help it as well.
And I think, Jika, also, I know I covered on behalf of your uncle, Hans C. There was a conversion of trash with gun, Japanese technology of some kind. So I think that's also part of how they're trying to move the conversation forward in terms of how solid waste can be handled. No?
Absolutely. It's just building on that. It's not a one solution to anything. So we really try to integrate different types of solutions to hopefully create a larger picture of what waste management could look like.
Siyempre, kalaban yon when it comes to Pasig River. Wait, let's not go there, diba? So again, at least our real estate companies here are there. Professor Rajiv, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, actually, I was about to ask the same question about solid waste management, but I think the panel has answered that quite sufficiently already. So let me go to another part of probably R&D, research and development. Last week, I was touring the Pasig River stations. I actually almost fell to the Pasig River. But my question would be, are we incentivizing companies that bring in green technologies? Because we all know it's very hard to put up green, sustainable technologies and introduce it into the construction sector, construction industry. So how are we incentivizing that and making sure that, yes, there are additional costs, maybe, but at the long term, are we giving more, I would probably say more than the technical and the financial bid, are we also evaluating these bids based on sustainability?
It's going to be our keynote speaker and our... go ahead.
Well, in real estate, sustainability, as mentioned, is very simple. So it's a balancing act between the economic viability of the project and, of course, the people living in there, they should enjoy the place. And we're talking about sustainability, this green thing. You mentioned about incentives. I don't see a lot of incentives lately. We want to, well, ask the government support on that as well. There are a lot of developers out there. They're doing green projects because big corporations who are using the space, like the office in the office market, it's part of their ESG. Globally, they should be compliant. So when they enter the Philippines or when they expand here, they need to be in a green building or a building that has a certification. It's part of the big compliant that they have to follow. So these developers are encouraged to do more and more of these types of building because there is demand.
To attract business.
To attract business. So at the end of the day, of course, bottom line, but they have to balance that with sustainability aspect, which, as mentioned, 15 years ago, very few green buildings because many developers would always say, it's so expensive, ang mahal gumawa ng green building. Meron bang kukuha niyan? May magbabayad ba? But today, yes, we're seeing that. In the past, they'll just build so that tenants will come in, the outsourcing firms, and in the past, POGO, they didn't care naman whether it's green or not, as long as the space will provide the office that they need, diba? The landlord will give them the space that they want. But today, companies are conscious, especially the big ones, the multinational firms, the blue chip companies. They really want to be in a building or in a location that has that in mind: green, sustainable, accessible. You want to live, work, and play in one area. Well, hopefully, if you can afford to live in an area where you also work there, but that's not the case. That's why in the Philippines, we want to see all that infrastructure projects to happen so that if people, the common Filipinos, cannot afford Metro Manila, they can live in the Calabarzon or North Luzon, but still be able to come to Manila to work because of the easy access, the public transportation, which we hope to see probably in the next 10 years. And Manila and Calabarzon, NCR, plus will be really sustainable that way. Livable city.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sheila. What about, again, from Marion and maybe Architect Carlo? Of course, your project
Yes.
had an incentive.
Yes. Well, actually, as for the Pasig River urban development, we're currently actually developing the parameters and considerations for the whole stretch of the Pasig River in terms of incentivizing these green developments and programs. But of course, we're actually the ones been implementing the project itself. That's why we're actually collaborating with the Department of Environment, the MMDA, of course, they are very active in the coordination of the Pasig River Urban Development. But in terms of the department or the DSUD, I believe there are policies with regards to the incentivizing all these programs and projects. But of course, this is handled by the bureaus themselves. All right, if you want to add something, Architect Carlo.
Nothing naman. The development itself kasi it's like a canvas along the stretch of the Manila, no? So this one we invite or the different investors who want to participate to this development. So we also for them or for us to evaluate what they can contribute for this development. So as Architect Marion said, that there's a bureaus who evaluate of them, and we're really open. How can we apply it to our walkway esplanade infrastructure along the Pasig River?
Can we open the floor? I'd like to open the floor to questions from our students. I hope you're all enjoying. Did you learn a lot from our speakers this afternoon? Fantastic. Do you want to ask a question to our speakers? Ngayon lang to. Sayang naman. Come on. Anybody, do I have to say my price? Come on. Anybody have a question for our speakers, panelists? Don't be shy. Architectural question. There we go. We have one. Come on down. Don't be shy. We have a microphone over here. Please approach the mic. For architecture students, thanks for sticking around, for being with us. And after the program, you can claim your prizes over there at the function area. And please visit the booths. Can't really stress how important you get to know the companies who are present here today, our partner companies. Here's your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Reyes. In the real estate industry, particularly in your business, I understand that constructing buildings is a primary driver for profitability, and adopting sustainable building practices is essential. In the future, I would like to ask, as your company continues to develop real estate, how do you ensure that you give back to the land and the communities where these developments take place? Do you engage in any initiatives aimed at environmental restoration, preserving local ecosystems, or supporting the social and economic well-being of the area? If yes, where specifically have these initiatives been implemented? And what impact have they had on the local environment and community?
Hans and Jika? Yeah, Hans and Jika, that's you. Who would like to go
Are you ready
first?
to wait until tomorrow to ask?
Okay, Hans first.
Well, that's a very big question. First, it's about also how we construct the building to make it more sustainable for the future. More and more, we're getting feedback from consumers themselves that they're looking for something more environment resistant and more environment friendly as well, because they feel it nga. They want windows that can block sunlight, lower their electricity bill. They want something that's flood resistant. So we're definitely listening to that. The second one is the things
Giving
that we're
back to
doing
the
with-
community.
and definitely give back to the community, making sure that we are able to support local communities when we're there, wherever we build. Green, our carbon forests, for example, we talked about almost 800 hectares already. And that requires also working with different communities to be able to make sure that that is sustained, as opposed to just planting and then you walk away and then eventually those things die. We need to make sure that continues to thrive. So there's a lot of that happening within Ayala Land, along with all the other CSR work that we're doing, not just within Ayala Land, but across Ayala Corporation or other subsidiaries as well.
Thanks, Hans. Jika, would you like to pipe in?
Yeah, sure. So I think first, SMDC is huge in terms of our sustainability work, in terms of our community sustainability work. So we are big believers in developing and nurturing communities. It actually starts off with our malls development as well. So when we do come into an area, before we even purchase the land, we assess how we can help the local community. So whether that's giving jobs to and primarily hiring locally, supporting SMEs within the area. And then on the residential side, we figure out how we can have people who who would typically not be living together then interact as a community, and how can they support each other. And then looking further than that, we work with LGUs and the barangays to make sure that we are respecting the people who live around. We want to then support it, so we have different initiatives like creating spaces for community centers and helping people who are have disabilities or older as well, or children. And so that's one way that we look at supporting communities. In terms of, I think from an architectural standpoint, we're looking at respecting the land. So there's this idea of creating green buildings. And we want to make sure that our buildings are using the least amount of emissions, the construction is greener. But what we actually believe in is that if we build it right once, that's actually going to be the least invasive. So we want to make sure that when we build a building, it's going to be lasting for a long time and a lifetime of that land. So that's how we believe that we can respect land better. That we are giving the most and most efficiency of the usage of the land the first time. And then that building will have a long lifetime. So we reduce the need to tear it down and reconstruct, create so much more waste. And so that's, for us, how we respect the environment.
Okay, yeah, Sant?
Can I add another one? I just realized that when we talk about sustainability, it's not just environmental impact, but also economic and societal impact.
Yeah, sorry, your mic.
There's a few statistics that I saw within Ayala Land, and I think I remember the number right. But we have 7,000 employees within Ayala Land. But at the same time, we have 53,000 indirect contacts, meaning suppliers, the suppliers of our suppliers. So can you imagine the multiplier effect of the things that we do as a business? So yes, we are paying 7,000 people to work for us, but the impact on society is a multiple of that. So win-win, I think. And if we add the things that we do on net zero, I think it can really benefit society.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And on that note, I need to wrap things up because I believe your Father Reverend is here. So thank you very, very much for the question. May I ask my speakers to please stand and step forward for a group photo. Let's give our panelists a well-deserved round of applause for their generosity.